What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I'm Asif Badi. This is a clip from the YouTube show, so please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and give me your thoughts in the comments section below. Without further ado, on with the show. Let's transition to the coaching staff now. We talked about it briefly before when you were talking about.
I'm going to piss off a lot of more people again, but here we go.
No, man, it's all good. You see what you feel, man. Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo, grade the performances that they have had up to this point in the year. And then we'll talk about a little bit more about potentially some acquisitions that they can make in December, because I think you know where I'm going with that one, with Frank Reich potentially coming in as a consultant, or basically coming in as a consultant in December. Will it help the offense? Like, where are you at with Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni in regards to this team and this offense at current juncture?
Well, my opinion on Kevin has changed vastly in the last fortnight. Okay, so I'm gonna put that one to a side because I think there's a lot to unpack there. In terms of Nick Sirianni, I mean, again, you always kind of got to grade it from what the expectations are, and I've done the same thing. I'll just say with Liverpool in a different sport, not my team, but a team that had won a title and everybody was expecting them to win everything. And everyone's saying that, they're going to be unstoppable. They're like, so then when I grade them, I go, well, are they unstoppable? No. So they've clearly underachieving in terms of, that's with the same. So I say all that to say, in terms of the Eagles, I hold up to the same standard. Like the standard now, the only way to move up is to go back to where we were last year. There's no higher peak of the mountain that we can get to than the one that we're already sitting on. So it's always kind of just sort of being able to maintain that. And I think Nick has been dealt a tougher hand this year than he was last year. You alluded to it as well. And Vic Fangio has definitely been handed a tougher hand.
Right.
For me, Nick Sirianni's job is unique amongst all 32 NFL head coaches, because Nick Sirianni in general is not responsible for the offense. He's not responsible for the defense, and he's not responsible for the special teams. He's responsible for situational play calling. Where are we going to go for it? Like all that type of stuff. Clock management, by the way.
Managing the
game. Which by the way, Nick Sirianni is the most elite clock manager I've ever seen in my life.
He's been
the ideas that like I'm watching the games, and the creative ways that he finds to get that clock to run to 0-0 is beyond me. Like, right. I thought the other day it was the Giants game, right? And we just got the ball back. And he was like, okay, was it the Giants game or was it the Vikings game? I think it was the Vikings game. Which one was it? Where basically they had all three of their timeouts at the 2-minute warning. He basically got them to use them all on first to third down and had about 40 something seconds on fourth down and went for it on fourth down and was able to like get the clock to run all the way down. And I'm like,
yeah. You left them no time to even make a drive at that point, right? That's insane.
Well, I forget which one. It was one of the last two games. It was either the Giants game or the Minnesota game. If you remember which one that was,
I'll be honest with you, I can't recall that exact moment.
It must have been the Minnesota game, because the Giants game.
It probably was, because the Giants game was the blowout. If I had to take a guess, it was probably the Minnesota game.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was the Minnesota game. But like, yeah, his ability to run, and this goes back to like the last season. Like his ability to use the clock is the best I've ever seen, at least an Eagles coach. I'm not going to make,
right. All the coaches that we've had in the past have had issues.
In history. Yeah. But Andy Reid has massive issues with that. I reckon that
still does to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that what he does, like, but his aggressiveness and going for it in certain spots, I think that the push, like, not being spoken about enough, because honestly, I think that was his brainchild alone. And here's the truth about the push, right? And again, I'll bring another soccer analogy, because I've actually used it in the reverse.
Sure.
Arsenal's corner kicks, if you guys doesn't watch the Premier League, Arsenal set pieces, they've scored like 60% set pieces rather than with the ball to feet and open play. And it frustrates life out of anybody because they've got the best free kick taker and the best free kick score or corner kick scorer, like header of the ball in the game, both in the same team. And they've got the best coach at coaching set pieces. What Nick Sirianni does on the flip side is he's got the best O-line in football, he's got the strongest upper body quarterback in football, and he's got the best O-line coach in football. And so therefore he knows he's able to create a play that's unstoppable. The only reason people don't like Arsenal's corner kicks and people don't like the tush push is because there's no answer to it. And people try to copy it, they try to emulate it, and they can't figure out how to do it. And it frustrates the life out of them. Mm-hmm. And as competitors, you're like, how the hell do I find a way to get rid of this? The only time that the media and stuff start kicking and screaming about things is when they know that a team is doing something that is an outlier, that you're uncomfortable with, that's getting results. People want to see the best teams win in ways that they feel familiar with. When somebody does something that's outside of the box, it drives them nuts. And that's why I think Nick Sirianni is an elite coach. He's an innovator. He's done things differently to the things that he's done, like that he's had the responsibility for, because again, he's got one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, right? He's got, by the way, a rookie OC who's starting to find his feet. And last year he had a great OC himself in Kellen Moore, of course. But in the things that he's responsible for doing, he does it better than anybody, I think, in terms of situationally, what are we going to do in the play calling? What are we going to do in terms of the clock management? And what are we going to do in terms of where we're going to place my timeouts? All that stuff. That's what he's in charge of. And the most important thing, of course, is motivating the team and having a team that loves to play for him, team that believes in him. And here's the truth. No matter what the media or what anybody says, listen to the players. Listen to the players who come to Philly who want to play for Philly. They all love him.
Right.
They all want to play for him.
In the NFL, man.
So when everyone was saying, let's fire Nick, let's fire Nick, let's fire Nick, and the most important thing for me is, do the players play for your coach? When the players have given up on the coach and no longer respect the coach, and the results are also declining, that's when it's time to give up on the coach. But when you're winning, now I got to say, during the meltdown, I felt at one point maybe they stopped playing for him, because that was one of the only sort of excuses that I could make, or explanations I could make for why that was happening. That's what I kind of felt like. The team was not fighting, which is why at that point I thought, let's get Nick out of this building, right? Mm-hmm. But when the 2-2 start last season and everybody was calling for his head heading into that bye, I was like, no, but I can see a team that's playing for him, which is why I would not get rid of this coach. And he, from that point on, again, just like Jalen, although I'll give him one more loss because he's responsible for everyone, even in the games,
even the ones where Jalen's not in. Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. So he's got 3 losses in 400 days.
Right.
So for me, I have to give, again, the roster got weaker. The results keep staying the same. And the players love to play for him. That's another reason why we're good at bringing high-profile players to the team as well, outside of Howie Roseman. I think it's important when you're making a life decision, do I like my boss? And people like their boss. So BG's coming back. Right? Like, you don't come back if you hate your boss. You don't quit your job because you hate your boss and be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I just had a light bulb moment. I actually love you, boss. No, that doesn't happen like that. So I would have to give him, considering that he's had a harder deck to deal with, I'd have to give him an A. I'd have to give him an A for this season. Mm-hmm. And by the way, last season when he won it, I don't think it was necessarily an A, because he literally kind of sit back and let everybody else take care of everything. Kellen Moore was responsible for the offense. Vic Fangio responsible for the defense. There's a little bit more responsibility with Nick on the offense. I'll say that just because he's got a rookie OC in there, who's, by the way, been his right hand man for many years.
Yeah,
and the only reason he's probably there is because Nick pushed for him to get that job. So he doesn't take a responsibility on that. And so if you were asking me this question because of his, putting Patullo, which has nothing to do with what he's done in this season, but in terms of what he recommended in the offseason, I probably would have graded him a bit lower. But you have to take everything into context. We're still playing at a championship level, considering that the roster in talent is downgraded, especially on the defensive side of the football. So
fair enough, man.
He's the champion. He's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and honestly,
into 2 and 3.
Right, exactly. And to your point, man, in the biggest game of them all, both times, Nick Sirianni has gotten this football team to play some of its best football that we have seen in years. Both Super Bowl matchups were 30-plus scoring outputs by the offense. And he is an offensive coach, saying what we want, say about the ups and downs that we hear and see during the regular season. When push comes to shove, or I guess when tush comes to push, I guess when tush comes to push, Sirianni gets these guys to lock in and play some good football. So, yeah, man, I agree with you. He's as good at managing the game as anybody else. Probably doesn't even get enough respect, even from a guy like me who was a fan. I am critical of Sirianni at times because there are times where he is nauseating, but you know what? The results are the results, and his job as the NFL coach for the Philadelphia Eagles is to win football games, and he's done that at a very, very, very high clip.
I'm sorry to bore the people. You're great viewers with my constant bias. Sounds like bias.
No, man,
positivity, because I'm not sitting here, yelling and kicking and screaming and
stop
an angry rant.
Dude, no, listen. I'm in Long Island, New York. Okay, so I'm surrounded by New York Jet fans. I'm surrounded by New York Giant fans. Any Eagle fan that's losing their mind, I'm like, come to New York and tell me that your team is a piece of shit. Like there's no instance where I look around, when I'm thinking to myself, this cannot get worse in Philadelphia. I look outside and then I see a New York Giants flag. I see Jet fans and they're sulking. I'm just like, you know what? It ain't so bad being an Eagles fan, man. We're okay. We're 6-2, not the best football that we've seen all year, but you know what, man? I'd rather be that than the New York freaking Jets, who are somehow worse coming into this year than they were in years past. So,
well, I wasn't surprised though. I kind of, to be honest, I'm a rankings guy. I do a lot of research in terms of roster construction. I thought they were the worst roster in the NFL.
They stink. So, they flat out stink. Like they are. That's a bad football team. It's a bad organization.
They actually had a roster like 2 years ago that I thought was on the verge of being a playoff level roster, and that
was the team that Zach Wilson had. Right, and that was the team that actually, beat Philadelphia.
Well, the team that Aaron Rodgers was supposed to have, and he had it for 30 seconds.
Right, exactly. Yeah, only the Jets, man. Only the Jets. Unreal. All right, so again, we got your take on Sirianni. I guess a quick synopsis of Kevin Patullo. You said he's kind of changed your mind on the year thus far. Give me your thoughts on what he's done from the beginning of the year to now, what you think he could do going forward, and also touch on a little bit about potentially Frank Reich coming into the building by December's time as a consultant going into the playoffs.
Yeah, so my thing on Kevin Patullo, and of course on the podcast we did back on my channel, was during the off season and we had just appointed him, and I had my concerns. I told you on that day, every time that the Eagles hire OCs from in-house, it never goes right. And what part of the reasons why it never goes right is because some of these guys are very smart football guys, and they're very good in the roles they were doing. Brian Johnson was a great, quarterbacks coach. I still think he's doing a good job with Washington. Look at way Jaden Daniels is performing. That is a lot to go down with Brian Johnson. I think that Jaden Daniels is probably top three or four, I'd say now in the NFC. And by the way, he's in year 2.
Yeah. He's excellent.
So yeah, Brian Johnson is a quarterback coach, incredible quarterbacks coach. But then when you're putting him in the OC position, I know it sounds like you want to have progression in your job, but then it left you kind of a hole in the quarterback coach because you all of a sudden downgrading the quarterback coach, and you've given a first-time OC in the league. It's a lot. It's a lot of egos. There many want the ball. There are different ways you have to kind of figure out everything. You have to be the leader. You have to lead the room there, and sometimes just it's a lot of pressure, especially in Philly. Every single year, the OC is the scapegoat, even when we're winning.
Yeah,
like that, and that's kind of what I was saying to Xander, which is like, man, how many OCs are we gonna keep going through with Jalen Hurts? Like, are we just gonna keep every year? Let's get rid of the OC. Let's get rid of the OC. That's what shit do.
Yeah, dude. I think in 12 years, I think he's had 10 offensive coordinators in like the past 12 years.
Yeah,
going from college to pro.
And Colin Cowherd says this, which is what, like. And by the way, Colin Cowherd for me is the goat of sports talk.
He's goated, man.
I literally, my boss on the football terrace, Terry Fleurs, me and him spoke about it. He's from England and he runs his own. Of course, YouTube channel who I work for.
Right.
He is like the British Colin Cowherd, and he was telling me he's like, I don't know a jack shit about American sports, but I sat there and I listened to this guy talk for hours and hours. I've watched about 100 plus the herds without understanding the context of what he's speaking about.
Unbelievable.
Just to listen to his delivery, how he's able to use satire at times, be able to use critical, change his tone, then to be able to praise you at times, be balanced.
He's as good as it gets, dude. He really
is, and be comfortable behind the mic. He is the GOAT. Right. And that's somebody who I also look up to as well, being in sports media now. Right.
Yeah.
But one thing he said is like the Eagles switching OCs every single year is the behavior of dumpster fire organizations.
Right.
And somehow the Eagles do dumpster fire organization decisions and yet are still the best run organization in football. How does that work? And I've heard him say that 3 or 4 times. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about the offensive coordinator. I didn't like the decision, but now that the decision has been made, you kind of had to back it. Then I went again after the Giants game, and for all those when I went back on the Giants, I was saying I think that was the biggest mistake we made in terms of us going back as an offense. We had a Super Bowl winning offense with the best talent. Why didn't we just go ahead, go outside of the building, get a savant of offense, an offensive genius, and let him go to work with this team? Like, imagine like, I'm trying to think of a great offensive coordinator that's out there. I mean, most of them are just hired already. But for an example, let's say you got a Ben Johnson, who I thought is a phenomenal. I mean, now he's the head coach of the Bears, but he was a phenomenal offensive mind. Can you imagine if Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator of the Eagles offense? That brain with that talent would be unstoppable. That's the thing that annoyed me a little bit about this decision, which is like, Howie, Nick, you have a chance here now. Kellen was good, but Kellen was not elite OC. Again, I should go the same logic. He's got one of these now.
Yeah.
But get me an elite OC. Use this opportunity. Get me an elite OC. I don't know who it was, but surely it was not Kevin Patullo. And for me, Kevin Patullo is an extension of Nick Sirianni. But this is where I've changed, and it was since that 10-day bye week. Because again, as I said, I felt like Kevin Patullo in the first first 6 games of the season.
Yeah.
Even in games we were winning, the offense made no sense to me.
I agree.
Because number one, Saquon Barkley is struggling, and when Saquon Barkley is doing great, run the offense through Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley is struggling, and yet we're still trying to ram our heads against a brick wall, even though the brick wall is staying sturdy.
Right.
And it's like, put your trust in your quarterback. And then, the crazy thing was when we started to do the reverse, which is start to abandoning the run completely, and then when trying to turn to him, and then you're like, well, he's not fucking picking anything up. What do you expect? He's cold. And this is all by the way, managing an offensive line which is getting injured and not taking that into account and being like, well, our offensive line is a bit injured, so maybe we've got to try something a bit different to give them a bit of a break and not lean on them as much. And that, for me, all that stuff was like, it was like, what are you doing, bro? Right. What are you doing? But during that 10-day break from Thursday night football, when we got absolutely demolished in New York, to Sunday morning kickoff in Minnesota, night and day. And he all of a sudden looked like an offensive coordinator, as I said earlier, that realized the weaknesses of his opponent, that game plan for the Minnesota Vikings defense. And he realized, look, Saquon's not on it. I don't know what sort of conversations goes as well. He must have had in the background AJ Brown knocking on his door, being a total pain in the ass, because based on what he's saying on his Twitter and what he's saying behind the microphone, AJ Brown must have been saying this shit to his bosses in the training at the NovaCare. Like, he must have been knocking on the door, being like, get me the ball, get me the ball, get me the ball. And he did it. In that Minnesota game, not only did he get the ball, Devontae got the ball, and Jalen was just looking phenomenal. He spread the ball around. He threw over 300 yards. Everything he did came off. It was absolutely magical. Although Minnesota kind of came back into the game for a little bit. We had a little bit of a lull in there. But I think that's natural. You can't be perfect for a full 48 or for a full 60 minutes.
Right. Yep.
But I thought that was I think he evolved. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. And to be honest, I've stopped listening to the rumors that we talk about in the Philly media and the shit that some people say. They start making up stories about stuff that goes on behind the scenes, which you don't know whether it's true or false. I can only go based on what I'm seeing on the field. But for me, the offense that we ran against Minnesota was not a Nick Sirianni offense. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Kevin goes to Nick and goes, hey, I know you have a formula for what goes on offense, but I'm the offensive coordinator now. I've been thinking about a few ideas of what might work for the offense. Can you let me run with it? And I think, to Nick's credit, obviously he did. Mm-hmm. That's why I got to give Nick Sirianni a lot of credit for it. And I feel like Kevin Patullo now is showing you how he believes offense needs to be run as an individual rather than as an employee of someone else. Right. He's not an extension of Nick. He's showing you, like, you know what? I got this OC job. If everybody's going to be on my ass because I'm running the offense that you want me to run, I'm gonna be in the unemployment line.
If I'm gonna get shit from the fan base, let it be because of my own bullshit, not necessarily the bullshit from someone else that they're giving me. Right? Yeah, I get you. I hear you.
Yeah. And in the last 2 weeks, Minnesota and then the Giants, this very same team that pantsed us, embarrassed us, is our worst defeat in 2 years, really, since the meltdown. And I'm actually, I'd say since Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay had plenty of excuses. He had injuries. I know New York, of course, Jalen Carter was injured, but on the offense, Jalen Carter doesn't play on the offense, so that's got nothing to do with
it was the worst loss we've had in a few years, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And for him to be able to run a different offense like 2 weeks later against the same opponent to amazing effect. Like, Jahan Dotson is getting open, Dallas Goedert is getting open, Devontae Smith is getting open, and Jalen Hurts is throwing lasers. Like, and not just that, he's also giving them that parts of this game. So when he's starting to open up and being able to use his arm, then people are being like, okay, what do I defend here?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Jalen Hurts can kill you again with his feet.
Legs. Yeah, you're right about
that. My opinions, I have to give, it probably would have been like a D or a C. I have to give Patullo a B- just because the first 6 games are so bad. But I got to give him credit for being a man, manning up, being like, nah, I'm not like, because to be honest, if Kevin Patullo gets fired from a Super Bowl winning team in the middle of the season, by the way, I think the Eagles have matured. They've learned that making decisions like that in the middle of the season can only make things worse. We saw that in the collapse, especially when we got rid of Sean Desai on the defensive end. We know that can make things worse. So he's like, you know what? Everyone's fucking scapegoating me because I'm running your offense. Let me run my offense. And now we're seeing Kevin Patullo's offense. And I gotta say, I love Kevin Patullo's offense.
Yeah, right.
I think in the last 2 weeks we have played, because everybody gives us this tag of being a boring team. By the way, Arsenal, my football team, is also a boring team. What's boring? Winning. It's just boring to everybody else because they're wanting to see an upset, and the consistency is boring. But in terms of from an entertainment factor, outside of obviously Saquon Barkley being phenomenal, and by the way, Saquon Barkley comes alive against the New York Giants from the first touch. So that sets up Kevin Patullo very well. Saquon Barkley burns you for 65 on the ground.
Yeah.
And now the Giants are like, fuck me.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Happens to every team, by the way.
Yeah,
every time that Saquon opens the game with a big run, I know we're winning the ball game. That's why I said to Xander. It happened in the playoffs with Washington. It happened with the Rams as well. Every single time he breaks open a big one.
If Philadelphia is hitting a long run, it's going to be a long day for the opponent. It just will be. 100%, man.
So yeah, I gotta give Patullo a B-, but I think that grade can go up as the year. Again, I gave you some criticism of Kevin.
Yeah, for sure.
But I always was kind of sort of saying to the Eagles fans, we're all panicking, and I think the panic was warranted because the performances were bad, and eventually started to tell when we went on that 2-game losing streak. And by the way, we haven't even touched on the first game that we lost. Keep thinking about the Giants. That Denver Broncos game, when we have the game wrapped up in the bag and the offense can't do shit and allows them back into the game. That for me was fucking awful.
That was a brutal loss.
That was brutal. But we needed it. We needed it so that Kevin had the license to say, hey, Nick, whatever you wanted me to do right now is not working. Can you let me do my thing? And I love his thing. His thing looks good. So for me, one thing that's good about Kevin Patullo is that I think because he's so young and inexperienced and he doesn't have like a great CV, that we have a potential for us to win a back-to-back season and keep our OC. I think that would be amazing for this football team. If he now year 2, if he continues to even get better, then we're having a different conversation again.
Right.
But I think, yeah, again, everyone is so reactionary. Everyone needed to chill out. Even you said this when we were on the last podcast. Like, I'm not expecting anything from this team this year. I felt like, we weren't making big moves in the offseason. We're waiting for something big. We're building up the draft picks, the equity in order for us to be able, because obviously got so many people got to pay.
Yeah.
That this was going to be a bit of a down season. You said you thought, you didn't think we would do much this season because you didn't have any expectations at all.
Right.
But then the football season comes. Well, I'm not saying you because you are consistent.
No, I got you.
You are consistent. You are consistent. I'm not talking to you.
No, I feel you. I hear you. I got you. I appreciate it.
Right? The football season comes and the offense looks a little bit bad. And I'm like, didn't the offense look bad last year? Did it fucking mean anything?
Right.
Like, come on. We're replaying last season. Last season, we were on after the Packers game, and everybody goes, I don't know if we can be anybody in this playoffs. 3 weeks later, we're holding up the Lombardi. Like, have a little bit of faith.
Right.
God damn it.
Yeah.
When they're proving you results, you got to be confident. You got to believe in it for a second.
Yeah.
And there are some people who, by the way, this is why I respect guys like Philly 500. He is always like this. He's never shaken. Now, me and him are cut from the same cloth. Like, yeah. And then there are guys like. By the way, I just feel like. By the way, Xander, I think, is a lot more positive of a fan than people give him credit for.
I think
he just spends a lot of time talking to Dan Cilio and John McMullen, and he's got to kind of just like listen to all that crap, and kind of just like gets in his bloodstream. It's been like injected into him, but deep down, he's the most positive person on Jacob. He's always the one fighting the positive corner for people don't notice. So I got to big up Xander. He's been a big influence, I think, in both of our careers as content creators. I think we've learned a lot from him. And I just want to say under this platform, because he gets so much shit. I read some of the comments that he gets. Bro, Xander is a G. And
yeah, no, that he is, man. He's a real one for sure.
Right.
Shout out to Xander, man. He's good stuff. Yeah. It's good stuff. Yeah, no doubt, dude. No doubt about that. All right, a couple more topics here since we're gonna, finish up the Eagles.
Yeah, we're at 1 hour 18 now. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. No,
although on my channel we went 3 hours. I just split up into 3 1-hour episodes.
Yeah. No, man, it's all good. I enjoyed the conversation.
Oh,
I
that
think
was
it's always
amazing.
fascinating.
I feel like in the off season, especially where we were like 5 days before the draft, there was a lot to talk about.
There's a lot of content,
a lot of change, the free agency, there was so much to talk about, and we 100%. Had yet to really recap a Super Bowl. And unpack an entire Super Bowl season. So there was a lot to talk about that day. But
100%, man, 100%, no doubt.
Right. But you asked me the Frank Reich question, by the way.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. Exactly.
So in my opinion, you asked me this question 2 weeks ago. I would have said 1,000%. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But I'm still actually going to stick to that because as good as Kevin is doing, he's still a first year. And you can always learn. Like one thing that's good about being in your job, one thing that I'm blessed as I'm building my career in YouTube is to have Terry Fleurs as a mentor and to have Xander Kraus as a mentor and be able to like help me grow and learn from what it's like to be very successful as a YouTuber, and being able to pick their brains, I think is very important. Mm-hmm. And to have a Super Bowl winning OC with the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the greatest offensive minds in the game throughout his career, to have him there in the background to be able to bounce ideas off of, we definitely need that. I mean, we had Vic Fangio. I mean, to be honest, we had now he's moved on to be the head coach, but we had what's Jonathan Gannon, right? And even then, Vic Fangio is now our current OC, was there to brought in to be consultant
then too. Yep.
Yeah. And so, I mean, as long as it's not like a Patricia sort of situation where it sends everyone to shit.
Right. Yeah.
You got to be able to learn as a first time OC from the best. Help them kind of give ideas to add to your playbook. Help them, you have a new idea. Tell me, like, what do you think? Is this a bad idea? Is this a good idea? What do you think? What would you call in this situation? To sit in a room with a guy like that with so much experience, I think is good, because I think it's one thing Kevin hasn't got right now.
Right.
Like to all Nick Sirianni's Super Bowl winning experience, he hasn't done it running the offense.
Yeah.
Like Nick Sirianni's offense, let's be clear. As much as I'm praising Nick Sirianni's offense, is proven to be very flawed.
Yeah, he doesn't have a flow for play calling as an offensive mind.
Which is why he's not our play caller, right?
Right.
So I think having Frank Reich in the building. By the way, Frank Reich is a great man as well.
Yes, he is.
And Frank Reich is, by the way, Nick Sirianni turns to Frank Reich. He's on the phone with him every day.
I was going to say, it's not just a Kevin Patullo consultant; it's also a Sirianni consultant for them as
correct.
Well.
So I love that idea. I'm totally down for that if that were to happen.
Right, I totally agree with you, man. I think he'd be, just with the doctor ordered at the right time too, going into the playoffs at that point in time.
Hey! Thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles Podcast.